Hey, it's Musketshot. You can contact us by email at indestructiblegaming@gmail.com. That's INDIESTRUCTABLE gaming@gmail.com. Drop us a line and tell us about a game that we should try, or just say hi. If you're a game developer, we would love to hear from you and talk to you about your game. And hey, thanks for listening. Now on with the show. Hit it, Mr. K.
Indestructible Gaming. Choose your character. Musketshot. Mr. K. Let the review begin.
Hello and welcome to Indestructible Gaming and More. I am Musketshot. Alongside me is my co-host, Mr. K. Mr. K, hello.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Well, this week we have a very interesting game that we played this week and are going to review. It is called Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, or TABS, as people like to call it. And it's an interesting game that it's still in the early phases of being developed. It's still in a preview phase, I think, more or less. But let's get into some of the information about it and talk to you about the game. Shall we get started?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. So the game is developed by a company called Landfall Games. And this game got released in 2019. Like I said, it's still in its early access, and it says that on the game itself that it's still in the process of being completed. It's on Xbox One, Game Pass, and Steam.
Well, I mean, it released on Xbox in 2019. It's been on PC since 2016. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you clarified that. Okay, it's rated T for violence. We played it on Xbox One Game Pass. The Landfall Games also develops a bunch of other games too. This is not like something they're new at. They've developed a bunch of different games. Some of them you might have heard of, but some of them you may not have. But they have a game called Stick Fight, which is stick figures, basically. Totally Accurate Battlegrounds, Cluster Truck, Square Brawl, Air Brawl, and Totally Accurate Battle Zombulator. So, yeah, I guess if you like your battling, this is the game company for you. There's a lot of battling going on. Other than, I don't know, maybe Cluster Truck is too. I can't remember.
Cluster Truck is a platformer.
Yeah, okay. So it's an interesting tactical single-player game where you use different factions to fight in different scenarios. So, Mr. K, do you want to tell people a little bit about like what the game is about? Like, what's the purpose of the game?
You know how like you like have that set of army guys and you kind of make one side go on one side and one on the other, and you kind of just imagine a fight go on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the scenario. You can take from different units of different ranges of attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And different abilities, and you can just kind of put them on whatever side you want if you're like in the free mode and not on the campaign.
Yeah. So it's basically two sides fighting against each other in a battlefield. There's different factions you can choose, and based on depending on the faction you choose, you can you'll fight with somebody from that faction. There's several different factions. There's one called Tribal Faction, a Farmer Faction, Medieval, Ancient, Viking, Dynasty, which is like the Ming Dynasty, where you got samurai warriors and ninja warriors, Renaissance, Pirate, and then a really weird one called Spooky. Spooky, when it's like skeletons and vampires and
death,
other things like that. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit different. So depending on the faction you choose, again, there's a bunch of different maps and different, I don't want to say battles, well, I guess kind of battle scenarios you can do.
Yeah.
But different maps and different things that you can choose and stuff like that. So it's, there just depends on how you want to, what your fighting mood is in, I guess, what kind of mood you're into as far as fighting and stuff like that. Each faction has 7 different people or things to select from as far as, people or people with various weapons or power.
Or in one case, animal.
Yeah, you want to describe some of the stuff that you?
I mean, each of them are unique in their own way. Some of them may be outlandish. Some of them might be pretty accurate, quote unquote accurate.
Yeah, yeah. There's some of it is. I'm trying to, like one of them. I think it might be medieval or ancient. One of them has, things that you've heard of or people that you've heard of, and weapons that you've heard of, and then it has like they'll throw in the Minotaur. And it's like, okay, well, that's, fictional character, obviously. So they throw that in. Or
they got Zeus.
Zeus is in with the Vikings.
Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, Grim Reaper.
Grim Reaper's in with Spooky. The Renaissance era is kind of funny because the first character, one of the characters you could choose is the painter. And I kind of didn't know what that was at first until you fight him in this one map that you fight them, and it's all these guys with palettes of paint and a paintbrush coming at you. And I was like, okay. Of course, I was fighting them with guys with swords, so I was like, okay, this should be no problem. I should be able to beat them. But they almost beat me because there was like 100 of them. So they kind of swarmed me. But so yeah, there's a lot of different characters like that are sort of, there's real stuff, and then there's some fakes, fictional type stuff. I won't say fake, but fictional type characters. And of course, the Spooky faction is all just there's skeletons, there's Dracula, or not Dracula, vampires, a bunch of other different things that are kind of strange. So they are expected to have more factions that will be to come. Again, the game is still being worked on, so they're claiming there's going to be more maps and more factions to come, so that this game will be pretty big. And there are a lot of maps to choose from. There's a lot of, in each faction, there's quite a few maps. I think probably maybe about 20 maps.
There's a good amount of them.
Some of them, when you start, you have to start with the first map because the rest of them are all locked. So, but there's quite a few to go through in different battles to choose from. So it's and we'll get into a little bit of the battle itself. Did you have a favorite faction at all that you liked?
Not really. I kind of liked certain ones from certain areas.
Yeah.
I think I liked, which one was the one that had Zeus in it?
I think that might have either been the ancient one or Viking one. I'm not sure.
I think it was ancient.
Yeah, I think it was ancient too.
Because they also had the Minotaur, and I really liked him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The Minotaur.
He was very helpful.
The Minotaur, I think, was in the same one as Zeus. Yeah, I kind of like the Viking faction, just because I like the Berserker and some of the other characters they had in it. They were pretty cool. So I like that one a lot. Spooky one is pretty interesting too, just because it's fictional stuff, and you have like skeleton guys fighting skeleton guys. It's kind of neat. I didn't really, as far as least favorite, probably the farmer or tribal faction, where you're sort of limited as far as weapons and stuff like that goes. So obviously as the eras go by, the weapons get better and stuff like that, and the factions are a lot stronger and stuff like that. The Dynasty faction is pretty good too, where you have the samurai warriors and ninjas and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And there is a bug BUG DLC that you can download, which you downloaded, but you didn't get a chance to play. I didn't download it at all. There was just so much on this game to play that I didn't even bother with the bug DLC. But the bug DLC, I guess, is what? Just bug factions, I guess, or something like that?
No, the bug DLC just makes you, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like if you go into other games and it's like a big head mode or something like that.
Oh, gotcha.
Little tiny things that
quirky stuff.
Yeah, the quirky stuff, but they're optional. You don't need to do them.
Yeah. So the characters we kind of mentioned, there's a lot of different factions and different characters. Like I said, about seven different things to choose from in each faction. I think the only one that had 6 might have been, I think it was the pirate faction, but all of them had 7 at least to choose from.
No, I'm pretty sure the pirate had 7.
And I think it was missing. I think it had only 6 for some reason. I don't know why, but I was checking on the factions, but it's kind of weird. So gameplay, do you want to discuss the gameplay, like how you set up your battles and stuff like that?
Well, you kind of, I don't want to say you're a god, but you're kind of looking above the arena like you would with a toy set.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you place them down. And with that, it costs you points.
Right.
If you're playing that campaign or any of the special modes or anything but free mode, pretty much.
Yeah, each map you do, you're given so many points to choose your characters and put them out on the field. And you can put them wherever you want on the field as long as it's on your side of the map. Like the map is split in half. Depending on how many points you have, you might decide to pick really strong characters, or you might decide to pick a lot of weaker characters to sort of overwhelm.
It opens you, it makes it a lot more strategic.
Yes.
On how you want to go about your situation.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of luck involved too, because sometimes you think you have the right people, but sometimes it doesn't always work out so well.
Sometimes you might go up a bunch of guys with loots, just playing them and running away. And then next thing you know, you're going up against literal death.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't realize those guys had loots in the medieval faction, and I threw about 5 or 6 of those guys out there. And then to my horror, I realized that when there was one of the characters was running around chasing after these guys with loots, and they were just screaming, playing music. And I went, oh, okay, that was not a good idea.
You sent those men to die.
Yeah, pretty much. I think one of them jumped off a cliff or something like that at one point. So the battles happen pretty quickly, and usually they meet sort of in the middle in a big, large melee. So occasionally they wander to different areas and they'll fight hand to hand, like 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 or whatever. But did you find that a lot of them ended up like they just throw themselves in the middle and just a big clump of characters going crazy in the middle?
Yeah, I think they do that just because I think it helps the phrase accurate, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the whole joke here. It's not supposed to be accurate whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
And I like it for that.
Yeah. Yeah, the characters have some weird sounds coming from them. They kind of remind me of like sounds you would hear in a Monty Python show or movie. The way they don't like talk or anything, they just make weird noises, which is kind of funny. And like you said, you start with an overhead view, but then once the battle starts, the camera kind of pans or zooms. Did you figure out a way to?
You can control the camera at all times.
Well, you could control the camera, but I thought for me it always seemed to like either pan to a certain area that I wasn't really comfortable with, or
maybe that was just your controller, because that's never happened with me.
Yeah.
But with the camera, you can also control the characters by pressing, I think, the Y button on Xbox. I don't know what it is for keyboard, but you can control them. Did
you control any of the characters at any time during your battles?
I think I only did it twice, but I only did it when I needed to, when I felt like I was gonna lose and they needed a push.
Yeah. And how did it work? Did it work pretty well?
What they do is, because usually it seems like the characters have like a cooldown when they fight, and that's exactly what happens, because when you play as them, they do have a cooldown for each time you swing.
Okay. With
some of them, they don't have a cooldown because they're overpowered. Like one of them is like a magician midair holding like a circle of swords around him, and he'll just continuously throw the swords. When you go and play as them, that's exactly what you can do. You can just continuously throw the swords.
Okay.
So it's an easy one if you use them.
Yep. So kind of like the archers, where a lot of times I watch the archers shoot their arrows, and they would shoot one and then not do anything.
They take forever to come back to that.
Yeah, and not do anything, and then they'd shoot another one. I was like, oh my goodness. Like,
the cool thing is, though, you can go in first person mode, and it doesn't do much, but it's just a cool feature to have.
Right. Yeah, I didn't try the first person mode. What I would do is, I did the overhead view, and then I would pan out or zoom in, and I would just correct it to the angle I wanted to see what was happening. The battles, I think, usually only last maybe about a minute or so. Not too long. Especially when they all tend to sort of run towards the middle, run towards each other, and next thing you know, everything is pretty much over with. So, how many, character-wise, what do you think about? It depends on the map, I guess, you were doing, because the more maps you do, the more points you have for value to put characters out there. Some of them, it's at the most probably 25, 30 different characters out there at one point, maybe on each side.
Possibly. It matters on the situation and the level you're on.
Right. Yeah, I know early in like the first maps in each faction, it's usually a small amount per side. And then as you complete each battle, as you have a victory in each one, you unlock a different map, and as you go, you'll increase the amount of characters by the amount of points you get to use and stuff like that. So it will, by the end of it, all the maps in that faction, you'll have a decent sized battle. You won't have hundreds and hundreds of players out there. The map isn't that big to handle that. I think it'd be very overwhelming, but
it's possible. I'll let you know that.
Yeah, you'll have quite a few out there. There is a sandbox mode,
and that's where it's possible.
Where you tried that a little bit, and you said that you can kind of play with whatever faction you want and put almost as many characters as you want out there.
I think the max is 30, but there's a setting you could put off. But you can turn it off in the settings where it'll stop the limiter. Mm-hmm. So you just put as much as you want, but the game does warn you that, hey, we don't know what's going to happen out of this. You don't know how bad the game's going to lag. That's your fault, dude.
Yeah, right. So if you want to try 100 characters on 100,
good luck. Hope whatever you're using can process it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully everything will take it and handle it well enough so you'll actually see the end of the battle or the start of the battle. Who knows?
Or the end of your computer. Or your console.
Maybe. So that's a little bit about the gameplay. It is kind of weird. The characters, blue and red are the colors of the opposing forces, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think you can change. I thought I saw something where I could change the colors of the characters.
I didn't really bother to look.
I think it's in the settings where you can change the colors.
If it was there, I probably looked around.
I didn't bother doing it. I just went with whatever the colors were.
I think it was just switching them.
Yeah.
Like, so you would be red and then the other person would be blue.
Right, blue. Yeah. Yeah. And it is, we did mention, I think at the beginning, that it's a single player game. So there's no co-op play or anything like that.
Although online would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm surprised that actually it didn't have an online play. At least not yet.
It would be cool. Like, imagine someone setting up an army and then you can have someone else set up an army. You can play as these characters in battle.
Exactly. I'm surprised that it doesn't have that, but it's probably something that they're going to look into or work on. I would assume, because I think it's the type. I think it's the type of game you could do that, and it could be pretty fun. The characters are all like, they're kind of like, it's hard to explain. They kind of remind me of the wacky waving inflatable guys. So they're kind of a lot of them are tall, kind of skinny, and like their arms. They don't really have like hands.
I kind of looked at them as like, I don't know what you want to call them, like the wooden doll sculptures would use to look at the human form. And they just plastered googly eyes on them.
Yeah,
and made them blue and red and called it a day.
Yeah, they all have googly eyes, which I guess you can remove.
You can turn it off. Yeah,
you can turn the googly eyes off in the settings. So if you don't want to look at googly eyes, but they kind of remind me of wacky waving inflatable guys. Sometimes partly because of, if a guy took some hits and stuff like that, he'd start walking and kind of like limping, and his body was kind of like falling all over the place. It was like the wind was catching him, and he was like flowing all around. I don't know. That's what it kind of reminded me of. It's pretty funny watching them sometimes walk around, and then, like I said, when they jump in, and sometimes they get thrown up in the air or they get thrown around. It's like they almost look like balloons and stuff like that. Which, speaking of balloons, did you try in the Renaissance era? factions. The archers with the balloons.
It's a love-hate relationship. I love how they work, but I hate when they use it against me because it's hard and it's really annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty funny in the Renaissance era. They have archers with balloons, and it's like balloon archer or something like that. And I didn't know what that meant until I started using that character, and he would shoot the arrow at the enemy, and the enemy would get hit by the arrow, and then a balloon would pop up, and the balloon would take that enemy away and blow him up into the air, and that'd be the end of that enemy.
They would eventually fall down to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then in the pirate one, in the pirate faction one, did you use the harpoon gun at all?
Yeah,
It's not particularly accurate, but when it does hit somebody, it's pretty funny when it grabs them and brings them over to you and then slams them down to the ground, and then you can fire it again. And it's not the most accurate thing in the world, but it is pretty funny when it does hit them. But there's like stuff like cannons in this game and catapults and
spears.
Yeah, there's the giant in the medieval area. There's like a giant spear type
man controlling dragons. I guess you want to call it.
Yeah, there's a dragon in one of them. Yeah, so there's a lot of different characters. Like I said, it's not particularly. Not everything's like historical.
I don't know what they call it, but it's like a merry-go-round with cannons shooting out from it. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah. That was very dangerous. Yeah, I don't remember what that was. The arrow thing, I think, is like a barrister. I can't remember. I think it began with a B or something like that. I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but that one's pretty cool. In the Vikings one, they have like the Viking ship, so it's like the Vikings boat that you're used to seeing.
They carry it though. They don't.
They carry it. They don't sit in it. They carry it, and then they get to the enemy and they throw it at the enemy, so it smashes into a whole bunch of them, and then they climb over it or whatever. So it wasn't particularly useful at times. I found it sometimes was more of a hassle than something that would be good to use. But I was expecting it to be something they would be oaring, using their oars and get over to the enemy, slam into them, but no, they just kind of carry and run and throw it at the enemy. The battlefields are a little, like I said, are small. They're divided in half, so one half is your side, the other half is the other enemy's side, and you get to put your enemy where you want to, or put your people where you want them to face off against the enemy. Once you hit start, everything starts and goes, and you can watch all the action unfold in front of you. So yeah, that's pretty much most of the gameplay is pretty much just beating up the enemy as much as possible, trying to get victory so you can unlock another map. There's music in each faction, which I think plays pretty well in the different matches because it's more of each music. I think the music matches the era pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah. It's good music. It's fun to listen to. It sort of gets you in the mood for the battle. The battle scenes, it's pretty much the same type of music. It's just like and you just start. And if there is music playing, I really wasn't paying attention to it. It was more entertaining to listen to the people making all kinds of weird sounds and watching people go flying and fall into the ground or doing whatever they were doing. That's pretty much it for that. So for my overall impression, I think it's a good strategy game. But if you're looking for a strategy game that has a lot of technical aspects and detail, this is not one of those games for you. So and I think maybe that was part of my problem was before we started playing this, I kind of thought that would be more the case. That I thought it would be pretty involved and technical, and it really isn't that technical as far as troops and what they do and all that stuff. So that is, I think that was my own fault for just having that impression in my head. But there's a lot of challenges for each faction. Like I said, there's a ton of maps. I mean, you did the introductory thing as well, right? With all the stuff, and then you went into the different factions. How many did you finish any of the single factions by itself, or did you just jump around like I did? And
I just jumped around.
Yeah. Like I said, there's quite a few different maps for each faction.
Once you kind of do the campaign, you get the gist of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the battles, whether or not they're accurate, I'm not sure of this. I mean, not if you're using fictional characters. I'm not sure how you can say it's an accurate battle. I don't know. I'm not sure, but guys slamming into each other and fighting. Yeah, a lot of the hand-to-hand combat type stuff is a lot like that. It's just bodies slamming into each other and bodies, getting thrown around and guys taking hits and not lasting very long out there. So it's very much like that. It's fun and goofy at times. Like I said, I think they remind me of the wacky waving inflatable guys a little bit. So watching them run around or hobble around sometimes, it was kind of funny to watch, and especially the googly eyes and stuff. It's kind of strange. There's a lot to explore in the game with all the maps and stuff. And then if they keep adding more stuff, which they're working on adding more stuff, this is going to be a pretty large game as far as all the maps and things that you do. But right now I would say I was going to say 6.5, but I think I'm going to rate it more of a 7 for me. Again, the only problems I had with the game is just because I was expecting it to be more, maybe less goofy as far as the characters and a little bit more involved with the maps and the amount of characters on the battlefield. Maybe if I go into the sandbox and play it and, have 100 on each side and see if my Xbox One crashes or not, and, try that. Like I said, I've done some strategy games and war type games where there's hundreds and hundreds of characters on the computer screen and you're watching this battle unfold, and it's pretty cool looking. So I think that's what I had originally thought this was going to be, something similar to that, but it isn't really that. That's not really the case, but I do think it's an interesting strategy game if you like it and you don't want all the technical details and all that information. Then I think this is more of a game for you. So what's your overall impression of it?
I thought it was fun. I would give it a 7 as well.
Yeah,
but I think the reason for that was it's a fun game. I like the look of it. It's very goofy. Like you said, tactics and all that. I would get bored of it after a good while.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like because once you've done all the factions and done most of the campaign stuff, you kind of get the gist of it. And you're like, all right, is that all they have to offer?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good that they're updating it. It's good that they keep adding stuff to it, which I'm happy about, because I feel like it wouldn't have sold as much if they just kept it as is.
Right.
But it has a lot you could do with it. I haven't done 100 versus 100 on a map yet. I might do it just to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to regret it, but I'll definitely let you guys and I'll let you people know next episode. That's for sure.
Okay. You'll give it a shot. If you text me during the week and tell me that your Xbox One is melting from the inside out, and then we'll know.
I'll let you know if I smell some toxic fumes.
Yeah. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of. I think the game has replayability because of all the different maps and all the stuff. I mean, you can't just because you defeat the enemy in one map doesn't mean that each time you do it you're going to defeat them, because sometimes it's hit or miss. You could have the same people, but then for some reason one or two of them die earlier than you'd expect, and then all of a sudden your characters are overwhelmed and you're done. So I think there is a lot of replayability in this game. But again, it's just depending on whether or not it's if it's a game that you really are into as far as the strategy games and that type of stuff. I think I don't have any problems. I wouldn't have any problems with younger than teenagers playing this game, because there's no blood or real gore or anything like that. It's very goofy. I don't think if you're a parent that's listening to this and you got a child that wants to play it, there should be no issues with playing it. I know it says teen T for teens, but younger kids can play this. There's nothing really anything bad in this game. So I think they would probably enjoy it and probably get a kick out of all the goofiness along with it. And they probably would do a lot better in it than I would, than I did most of the time. So go figure. So any other comments about the game that you want to make?
Not that I know of. Would you want to go on to, do you want to announce what the next game we're going to review is? Or should I say games?
Yeah. Why don't you talk about our dual game week next week?
I mean, I can talk about one and you can talk about the other.
Okay.
Well, one of the games you're going to be reviewing next week is called Wargroove on the Game Pass. I'm pretty sure it's a tactics game.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't looked much into it yet.
Yeah.
But all I know is that's online and I've heard it's very fun, in depth. We'll definitely have to try it out.
Okay. Excellent. And then the other game is we've been, of course, if you follow us on Twitter, we've been reaching out to a lot of different indie game developers, a lot of the smaller indie game developers, and we've reached out to one recently who created a game that's for the Android and iPhone systems and stuff like that. So you can download it on your iPhone or tablet. It's a game called Ready, Set, Goat, GOAT. And it's an app that you can download. So we downloaded that and been playing a little bit of that. And so we'll do a little review on that as well next week. So I think that's all I have about Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, or TABS. If you don't have anything else, then we will get ready to start getting our war groove on and get Goat jumping and have some fun with some games this week and see what comes out of them, and let you all know what we think of them and what's going to happen in these games. So if you don't have anything else, Mr. K, I am out. I will see you and talk to you soon.
Yep, that's it for me. I'll talk to you later, and I'll talk to you all next week. Well, we'll talk to you all next week.
Yeah. We'll stay in touch and see what's going on with the games and stuff like that. So, all right, everyone, thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you join us next week to listen to our review for Wargroove and Ready, Set, Goat. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Peace.
Game over.
Hey, it's Mr. K here. I just want to let you know that you can follow us and like us on Facebook and Twitter. By the way, you can also download this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn Radio. All right, folks. Have an awesome day. See ya.